Sometimes you have to do that because the easy challenge is one you'll get lazy with. The big challenge gets you hungry.
Oh, how the tables turn.
That's a heavy topic,
and we need to focus on that.
Big challenge,
if not for
get you
yourself,
hungry.
then do it for your children.
Black books in
Black books. Black book.
Black book.
Black book. Black book. Okay, got some echoing going on. Whoa, there's some bad echoing going on. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, let me unmute myself. I think we're okay now at the moment. All right. Okay, let me unmute myself. I think we're okay now. We're still getting at the moment.
How do I sound? Am I okay? All right. Hey, folks, if you're on, this is technical difficulties, but it's all good. We flow. We freestyle in the moment. Give us a moment. We're not on? Okay, cool.
I think we're okay now. Yes. All right. The echoing is gone. My apologies, everybody, for those technical difficulties. We are here. Sorry about that. So it's Black Men Can Talk. And it is myself and Kofi Sadat. And Kofi Morris is here. What is up, gentlemen? What's going on?
All good, family. Good to be back. 3 the hard way. All right. All good. There you go.
3 the hard way.
3 the hard way. Good evening, everybody out there. Welcome to another episode of Black Men Can Talk. Love the fact that you're here and we're honoring your presence.
Good stuff. And before we go any further, Paul, celebration of momentous occasion last week.
There you go. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, very honored to celebrate my 25th anniversary, wedding anniversary, that is. Yeah, man, definitely I want to give a shout out to the Queen, to Nicole. Thank you so much. To the family, everybody who came out to support. It's been a long journey, but it's been a good journey. So I want to give thanks for that, and I'm humbled by the experience, looking to build further. But yeah, thank you for acknowledging that. It's good to be back in the space, but I did enjoy my little time away.
Good.
Celebrating that piece, so it was enjoyable.
Fantastic. And we see the beard of somebody. Now we see the face of somebody. Hello, Kofi Morris.
Peace and blessings, family. Good to see everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Looking forward once again to another live discussion. What other place can you go see brothers connecting on a real level, connecting in a beautiful, loving space, continue to hold spaces for Black brothers in the city, in this country. So I'm thankful. I'm looking forward to today's reasoning.
Good. Yes, what's been going on in your world, Mr. Morris?
Oh man, a lot of developments. I mean, happy African Liberation Day to everybody, because yesterday was opportunity for people to come forth and connect and speak about the importance of our liberation worldwide. So for those that were able to take advantage of different celebrations and connections in the community, big up the All African Revolutionary Party here in Toronto, Canada. I was able to connect and pour celebration and bring in the ancestors for their event yesterday. So that was a blessed occasion downtown Toronto. A lot of young people doing some amazing work in this city, for those that are not aware. And I think it's definitely time for us to have some kind of hub where we're able to connect folks, connect initiatives, because there's so much happening and sometimes people just don't know what's happening. So there's a lot of amazing things. So I'm looking forward to again, this season that we're in. Of course, there's going to be a lot of events For those that are tuning in internationally, Toronto is that space of festivals and events and special events. So we'll do our best through the show to be able to promote what's happening in the city, across the city, so folks can stay connected.
Before we go to break, I want to get both your gentlemen's perspective on something. It was 5 years ago that Brother George Floyd was killed.
Mm.
Can we get, is it okay for me to ask, if you gentlemen are open, what are your reflections now, 5 years since Brother Floyd was killed?
Great question.
Yeah.
You hit it.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite Brand Nubian quotes is, "Nothing's changed. It's the same old cycle."
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, I mean, the awakening, in particular, of many of our people around something that we know has been happening for a minute. I think it's really shifted a lot of positive conversations, movements, awareness, action, since that time. And, like anything else, our brother did not die in vain, because, unfortunately, his life was taken, but many lives are now, restored, in terms of, people saying, hey, enough is enough. And, again, it starts with self. So I think many things have happened, but I think also the other side of things, not to be a pessimist, is that many of the broader promises, broader society changes that we had heard that should be made, we're now seeing a lot of undoing, in particular in areas like, say, of diversity, equity, and inclusion, in a real sense, not besides the words and lighting up of your Instagram or whatever. I think I think there's a lot more to be done, a lot more to be done in that way. But I'm really happy how a lot of our people have showed out. Particularly the young people are going to give the shout out to, that they really have stepped up. So that's my reflections.
Brother Kofi.
Whether it's the first part of your question, I had a vision of where I was, at that time, in terms of like what was happening communally. And of course, we were in COVID at that time. We were in this space of separation, social isolation, all these kind of things. And I was called to attend a rally and pour some libations at a rally. Social distancing was my first social distanced rally in community, which is, of course, a completely different time and era that we were in. But at that time, I think relative to this time now, as Paul just mentioned, some of the same challenges exist in our community. Some of the same, pockets and groups and silos exist in our community relative to the need for collective healing work. I think a lot of our people are actually in a worse state, socially, mentally. There's a lot of mental health issues that have occurred since that time that have not been addressed. And for people of color, often we're the last on that list of folks receiving help, right? Which is part of the work that we have to do internally, because it's actually not up to other people to help us to heal. So I think the work continues in terms of our community and what needs to be done. In terms of the gun violence, it's interesting, because guess what? When's the last time we heard about, shootings, in terms of like as it was before? Every couple of weeks you're hearing about Black men being shot. Has that stopped? Has the statistics changed? I don't know. But I would say that most likely it's just not being documented as it was before. It's not a hot topic right now, So we as a community, I think we still have to acknowledge that the importance of acknowledging Black bodies internationally, and not even just where we are, it's real. It's something that we need to be mindful of. Our self-care and how we care for one another as a community and the things that have affected us. It's time to really do some serious healing work. Because I think we've become desensitized, to be honest with you. So I don't think that even if there's more news about it, that it will change our situation. I think it just brings to light that we're still under attack.
Cool. Need you to do a favor, brother Kofi. Can you tilt your camera, because we need you more. We only see the bottom. Right now your chin's cut off. So can you adjust your camera so we can? There we go. A little bit more. Just a little bit. Okay, good. Excellent. All right, fantastic. All right, we have another new friend coming on the show tonight or today, wherever you're watching this, in whatever time zone you're in. So we're going to take a break, 30-second break, and we'll be right back. So we have Primetime Saturday with Aisha and Lala.
Will some of these places stand up and say, no, you can't come to our country? Because if they set that precedent, you might as well set the world on fire.
Right. He literally wrote an executive order defining what womanhood is.
This is the times that we live in now, y'all. You can either be mad about it and make yourself sick, or you can decide what you're going to do with your life and make it positive.
There we go. Primetime Saturday with Aisha and Lala, 5 p.m. Eastern on Saturdays, 2 p.m. Pacific, where two African-American women try to make sense and nonsense out of what's going on in America, politically and socially. Let's go to it. Please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. To advertise your business, product, or service on our show, please email me at dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com. And finally, join the Black Men Can Talk Discord group. Email me again, dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com. Who is going to introduce our friend for today?
I will make Kofi. Go ahead, Kofi.
All right. I like how you guys like to put me on the spot. I see the pattern that
we talk about the heavy hitter, brother. You're back in the bullpen. Go ahead.
All right. So I shall read a little bit of our current guest's bio. Once again, someone who's been doing a lot of work in community for quite a number of years, and definitely I met him more in the poetic space, in the lyrical creativity space. So Soul-R Damon Maraj is an award-winning community engagement and youth development worker who's mentored and trained thousands of youth and adults across Toronto over the last 20 years. A well-rounded social entrepreneur himself. 2012, Soul-R founded and established Impact in Communities, a grassroots nonprofit organization that utilizes an asset-based model of community development and engagement. So we're looking forward to today's conversation, welcoming Soul-R, and I'm sure there's some other additions that he's going to share in regards to his life and experiences that are not in that little that short piece of bio that I shared. So looking forward to today's convo. Welcome, brother Soul-R.
Greetings.
Welcome, sir. How you doing?
I'm blessed, feeling good.
All right.
How's everybody doing? Everyone good?
We're good, man. We're good.
Yeah,
Great to have you. Great to have you. I'll get right to it. One of the things, what inspired you to start working with youth and communities? What was the inspiration?
There's a lot of reasons, a lot of factors for working with youth. But when we look at change, and we're trying to promote change and try to change community, it's best to start with the children and the youth, right? So for me, like, I always enjoyed working with youth. I never had growing up mentors like myself until I became an adult. So to be able to give youth that opportunity, that's an amazing thing to see, especially after you've been working with them over time, and now they're big and they're like 30 years old now, and they're linking you up and seeing you on the road, and it's like telling you what they're doing. It's like you see the progress. It's amazing, and you had some sort of hand in molding that. I always say, for me, like, if you were an architect or a sculptor, you make a huge statue, you could say, look, that's a monument right there. I did that, and it's amazing. It's a physical thing. But when you're working with people, that's the clay. That's the original thing. That's the real thing. You're seeing the shapes that are taking place in people, the change, the transformation, and you had a hand in that. But only the artist knows that. So it's like, and the person itself, So you know what I mean? It's just something that's special and sacred for me. And so my passion is working with people, specifically youth, children, and adults in that order. The reason I approach working with adults just like I approach working with youth. For those working in community, you'll see that everything is always geared to youth. And you see funding and all these things happen. It's always about the youth. But for instance, myself, even Paul, like we missed that boat, you know what I'm saying, growing up. It's like we didn't, you know, like you missed that. Like we didn't have that community like kind of programs that was so readily available. You know what I'm saying? I remember playing basketball outside in the wintertime. I've talked to these youth, they got indoor courts, man. I'm not ending them playing outside. And even though they love ball, no one's playing in sub 20. Hanging out of rims, you know, you're getting bruises on your hand, you know? So it's like those things weren't there and now they are. So for the adults, they never got that. They need it. They missed it. You know what I'm saying? And now their children are in the programs and their children are the ones out there that's, you know, that are so wayward and lost in a lot of ways because the parents didn't have it. So you have to restore that as well. You know?
Sure. For real.
Gentlemen, jump in because you know I always have conversation pieces. So
always,
if you don't speak,
always. All right. So I'm gonna I'll have a little question for you here. So I know obviously Brother Kofi is intro talked about some of your artist background, whether that be poetry or whatnot. But what relationship do you see between art and community work, and in particular for yourself? Is there a correlation, a relationship, a link? Yeah.
Well, first of all, I'll just say like I started as an artist. That's what got me into community work.
All right.
You know, so I started as an artist doing the spoken word and like for me the word, just the word, everything started from a poem. You know, just writing out words, just going through a lot of trauma, going through issues, being in a down place in life, and just writing myself out of it, writing it just through words, and then being able to go perform, and then that opened doors, you know, and then from that, it brought us into the community, and because it was conscious poetry that we're doing. You know, it brought us into the Afrocentric community, more that space, that sector, you know, which was small but powerful and still existing and very powerful, right? So the right people were always in the place. So just doing shows and things like that and just being able to perform was amazing. But one of the things I really enjoyed doing was when we had opportunities to go into schools and work with youth and children and things like that and do workshops and so I enjoyed that. And then I realized, wait a minute, because I told you I didn't grow up like with programs and things like that. I realized, wait a minute, there's a whole sector out here for that. You know what I mean? So I could walk that. And for me also too, it was about like, when you're doing this type of, like the type of poetry and the type of people that you're around, you're always growing. You can't be in that space unless you're building. There's not a space for you. You gotta be building. You always gotta be constantly working on yourself, you know? So, and when you're on this spiritual quest and you're like, okay, now I'm going to do some poetry, but yet when you look out to the audience and it's people who are already on that, or it's like you're preaching to the choir, you know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of just talking and rhetoric after a while. So we have to take that and bring it to those who don't have that space, who don't have that circle, and how do we take that, you know what I'm saying, and give it to folks and translate it in a way that they can digest it and they can understand it easier, and in a way that is sweeter for them, because they don't necessarily want to go through that extreme change, but they need it. So how do we take it and infuse it and like filter it so that they can get something out of it? So that in itself, that art right there, that's art, that's creativity. And so it's like, now let's take this art and take the way we deliver and take the way we teach and the way we, as artists, as teachers, as educators, right? And be able to take it to the community that needs it. So that's where I started walking. I was like, you know, I said, I'm tired of walking. I'm tired of talking. It's about walking. You know, you got to walk the walk. So it's like, and I never really looked back. So that's how I got into community work. It was I was an artist. But let me say this before I even got there as an artist and even the community work, it's all about the spirituality. See, everything resides back to spirit. it resides back to knowing yourself and your purpose. Because everything I'm doing is in line with my purpose.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's all part of it. So it's relative, and it unfolds naturally because I'm in line with what I'm supposed to be doing. You know what I'm saying? And I've been doing that for many years now, in line with what I'm doing, and I've been on that path. So it's like I go to work, but it's not really work. I haven't worked a day in in years. It's just life. You know what I mean? It's not. I don't ever look at it like some sort of 9 to 5 or anything like that. It's like, no, this is just part of the spiritual work that we're doing, right? So even though you have ups and downs, it's never, man, I don't want to go. You know what I'm saying? It's more always personal. You know? Yeah.
I love it.
All right, before we continue on, I just want to hail up some comments here. Frequency Event Promotion says greetings and salutations. Norman Otis Richmond checking in.
Oh, yes.
Legend. Norman Otis. The food plane from the US says, good evening, Dr. Vibe and guest. DS here. John Johnson says, yo, Soul-R sounds just like Zuko from Avatar, The Last Airbender.
Yo, there you go.
Zuko. Fireman, that's the fireman, right? That's my son's favorite show, man. Avatar.
There you go. And the creative activators says, really appreciate the level set check-in about Mr. Floyd. Thank you so much. Kofi, continue on the conversation if you wish.
Huge. Once again, for those that didn't tune in last week, check out last week's replay because we were speaking about this thing called purpose. And it's so powerful what he said, several things that I wrote down while you were talking, because like everything started with a poem. You said that you wrote yourself out of circumstances, things that you were working through, I guess, again, once again, and otherwise. You spoke about the importance of us having a conscious space, as a community and coming together at that time. And I look at it like for those that were involved in that time, it was like a renaissance or whatever you want to call it, in terms of artistic development and creativity in the city at that time. There's a lot of things that were happening. And so I'm just thinking of this piece that you said, that basically when you're living in your purpose, you can almost say like you won't work a day in your life. When you're living in your purpose and you've tied it to your vocation, you've tied it to your career, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like just an extension of your life. It's interesting because, oftentimes I tell people, I was just having this conversation 2 days ago about workaholism and the reality that some of us who come from Caribbean background, etc., continental, etc., we have this thing about work, that you need to work. Make sure you're at work. You're supposed to be working. Make sure there's no time for, not to say there's no time for play or leisure, but you're supposed to be, as we would say, productive in society as a result. So for those that are not presently like in that space, you fuck people all the time who are not necessarily in their career, who are the adults and the parents of some of these folks, right? Some of the young people that you might support, or even just people that you come across in community. What are some of the, you would impart to them with regards to that piece, if you were reasoning with somebody about that?
So I would say this, like
not living in your.
Yeah, I've had jobs before I was able to get in the community. I remember I was going through a transition at the time because gotta pay bills, right? So I was doing the entrepreneurship thing, but at the time too, just the discipline wasn't there at that time. This is 2004, 2005 times, so it's like I was trying to get more. I had to get something steady, so I'm just taking job to job, right? But at that time, differently from when I was like a youth working, it's more like I was already on that spiritual path, so I was already moved into that light of understanding of who I was and knowing who I was. So when I went to a job and I'm working a 9 to 5 in like a call center or a factory or things like, that aren't the typical job where it's almost like you're a robot, doing those type of jobs, those robot type jobs. So, but I did not take anything from there because the whole time I was there, I was zoned out in terms of because I already know who I am. I'm not, this place can't get me down because I know when I'm going home, this is what I'm doing. So my spiritual joy carried me through the workday. You know what I'm saying? And the work became a means to an end, because at the end of the day, it's a means to an end. You see, like God didn't put you here to work for Walmart, to work at the bank.
Come again now. Come again now.
You made that contract. You came down here and said, "Oh, I'm gonna go work for Walmart." You know what I'm saying? Like, no, that's not really. But we live in Babylon, so how are you paying the bills? You understand? So okay, so how are we going through society and saying, okay, we're gonna pay. We gotta do this. We gotta do that. Okay, cool. We have to do that, but it's not us. It doesn't identify as us. So once you identify with the job as who you are, then it takes away from you, right? And it becomes almost cancerous, because like this is going to eat away at you. But if you have that spiritual joy, because you already know what you're on, you have passion, which is turning to purpose, and your purpose is moving you. The job is a means to an end. You see what I'm saying? Right?
Nice. I like that.
Right.
There you go.
And at the end of the day, you start to look at, okay, well, okay, I'm like, how can I, let me get smart with this money. Okay, I got to make this money, but can I start investing? Because you have to look at the doors that open from that negative. Because if you're in a situation like that, like how you get yourself out of it, and then maybe you may not have that many career options, but there are ways. Like, can I invest money? Can I buy real estate? Can I buy stocks? Can I buy things? Because at the end of the day, the reason I'm doing this job is to make money, right? So it's about supplementing income. You know what I'm saying? So the things that I would tell people is, one, yes, you have your spiritual powers to take you through, but also you should be looking to evolve from that situation financially, right? So looking how to make money in different ways. You know what I mean? Because like, that's what we gotta do. You gotta evolve out of it as well, right?
Exactly.
Love it. Give thanks.
Dr. Vibe, you up? Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, before we go to the next round of conversation, because the food plane has a number of comments saying when you understand your purpose, your decisions, goals, and actions become more intentional. You're not just reacting to life, you're directing it. He also says when life gets difficult, having a sense of purpose provides a reason to keep going. It grounds you and reminds you that your efforts have value. Also, it encourages you. Oh, he's in good tonight. It encourages you to live true to who you are, not to others expect you to be. That leads to more genuine relationships and self-respect. And then ultimately, living in your purpose transforms life from something you endure into something you embrace. It's about thriving, not surviving. And Creactivator says, man just said Endgame can't be Walmart.
Can't be, brother. Unless your name is Walmart, then that's you're manifesting those pieces, right?
And even I'll put it further, even to like the big, like working down on Bay Street or working at or the banks or anything like, these are wicked institutions that at the end of the day, we're working for, but like really big picture. Always gotta think little picture, big picture, big picture. Who are you working? What are you doing? So do you really think that this is who you are? Like I said, it's a means to end. You got to pay the bills. You got to take care of family. I get it. This is Canada. You know what I'm saying? You can't live outside in the street. It's winter time. You freeze. Like it doesn't work like that. So they have us in the system. So we have to find ways, and especially, you see, particularly to Canada, particularly to the GTA, like we have a very unique cultural identity and quest geographically because of where we're living in Canada, the situation, the system, the fact that we have a parasitical government that's constantly taxing us, that's constantly taking from us. You know what I'm saying? How do we move through? How do we maintain? Because things are really not built to maintain spirituality. These things are built and designed to destroy you, to bring you down, to destroy your spirit, I should say. You know what I'm saying? So it's how do we become more and more resilient living. You see what's been happening since during COVID up to now, like it's not stopping, right? So they keep throwing things at us. So how do we maintain that? You know what I mean?
So John Johnson says, "Fire Lord Zuko," saying facts.
They don't know. They don't know.
All right. Well, I feel how much wellness and spirituality is important to your life. How important is it for our community's health?
It's imperative. It's imperative. When you look at alternative wellness first of all, this is not nothing new. These are ancient practices that are being restored in these times. Our peoples knew about these ancient techniques, these ancient exercises, these ancient methods and rituals that could help to uplift our spirit, bring balance to the mind, body, and soul. You see, so basically everything is designed for overall well-being, and this is something that we need to conduct within ourselves. Always, we have to understand our end goal. When you look at life, everybody has the same purpose in this, and it's well-being. You understand what well-being looks like for you, and what well-being looks like. There are similarities, and then individually aligned with purpose that falls under your well-being. But everybody's goal should be for well-being. So spiritually, from ancient times, you look at everything was designed for well-being. Now we're able to restore a lot of those practices that have been lost. We've been able to restore them through ancestral recovery, through spirituality, through meditation, through recollection of energies that have been stored in the DNA, also in the Akashic. You know what I'm saying? There's so many different things that are being brought back down and then transmitted at a high frequency because of internet and things like that. So how now are we taking this and how are we living? That's where we have to now start investing our time. What are we doing in terms of our health? What are we doing in terms of restoring health and health practices and healthy living, right? So, and the thing with that is that if you're not around it, and you're not around that type of circle or something, then it's hard to maintain that, especially if no one else is doing that. You're the only one doing this or living this lifestyle. It's hard. So I would say, first of all, you got to find your community. You got to find your tribe. You know what I'm saying? And I would say that's even harder, finding your tribe. That's one thing. You brought up COVID earlier, but one thing COVID taught us was that your tribe is not who you thought it was.
Ooh, there you go.
You know what I'm saying? The people that you thought, like, no, and it's not about color, skin. It's not about any of that. Like that was a game changer. It's about mindset. You know what I'm saying? It's about who's moving on the frequency. So now we're talking about, if we're talking about frequency, now we're talking about holistic health and wellness. Because we're trying to maintain that frequency. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So now for us, knowing that and like being a practitioner of different modalities over the last 20 years, it's one thing. But now being able to take that and bring it to the community is another. So I feel like it's time to bring like the raw, just like before I told you, okay, we'd have to translate it. We'd have to translate it in different ways for community to understand. But because of, like I said, the internet and the dissemination of information at such a rapid space, a lot of things are known and people are more ready for that. And they're ready not just for that type of knowledge, but they're ready for the truth. The true knowledge, the right knowledge, the unfiltered fusions that's been going on. A lot of stuff is now taken, appropriated, fused with this and that, and people are calling themselves masters in the space. So we started Impact Holistics to bring the real energy back and give them like holistic health from a ancient perspective of how things can be demonstrated in this more natural state. You understand? Yeah.
So before we get into that, I'm doing, and we're going to bring up the flyer and everything like that. We want to talk about that a little bit more. But one of the things that you mentioned was, the challenge of finding your tribe, right? And a lot of work that we do in community, collectively. All four of us have been involved in different roles in terms of, youth development, Black male development, and also rites of passage specifically, right? So I want to give a shout out to some of the young men that we're working with today, our new rites of passage group. But I mentioned that because I know that you yourself are initiative against civil rites of passage. What role, if any, do you see rites of passage playing to help people find that tribe, right? In terms of, your group and, like you said, your folks that can pull on for you. So what was your experience like that?
For rites of passage?
Well, any sense cultural program like that, cultural identity program, like what role could it actually play in you actually discovering your tribe and your like people?
First of all, big up NNA, and then big up NSA Tech Roma. That was our group, and then say Tech Roma. Yeah. So, but I think like for rites of passage, like it's interesting because for rites of passage, it's anytime you're going through a transition, right? It's a rite of passage in your life. So, but specifically for the Afrocentric rites of passage, to say, okay, well, it's restoring culture. It's giving you Akan culture. It's giving you identity. It's giving you your name. It's giving you ways to pour libation. It's giving you ways to understand who you are and from a cultural perspective. So I think it's paramount to the discovery of who you are culturally, because the thing is that was taken, you know what I'm saying, and destroyed and erased almost, you know. So it has to be restored, and like even if you are not going to live that way, you still should be exposed to it. It's just like having just like, you know, I don't remember when school went in Scarborough when they used to make us do the Lord's Prayer. They try to indoctrinate us with different things during the school, health house, different cultural pieces that they would throw. Do you remember square dancing? I don't know if y'all out there.
Listen. We were just talking about that last week. That's a Scarborough thing.
Think about that for a why the hell were we square dancing doing this? Swing your partner around, like, you know, why were we doing that nonsense? You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But that's their call, and we were doing that because and like at the time I thought it was corny, but it's fun. It's like y'all, like everyone's doing it, so it's like okay, but at the same time, why are we not? That's culture, so they're indoctrinating that in us. So why are we not doing the same thing? And rites of passage should be something that all youth from the African diaspora have to go through. You know what I'm saying? And I'll even take it further, because all melanated culture should be going through that, because a lot of through colonization, a lot of those colonization practices have destroyed cultures. So they've lost their culture too. And the thing is, when we talk about the Afrocentric, why it's so important, Afrocentric knowledge and culture is world history and world culture, because everything comes out of Africa, you see. So going back to the root of things and restoring it that way, it's just a natural, logical progression. You still go back to the root. We've lost so much of our stuff. We have to go back to the foundation, to the source. So we got to go back to Africa. This is why Africa always got to lead. You know what I'm saying? It's always got to lead. That's why you talked about it at the top, African Liberation Day, because it's always been an attack on that, because that's where the culture comes from. You know what I mean?
All right, I'm just going to jump in with some quick comments here. The Creactivator says capitalism requires some level or form of enslavement. She also says all skin folk ain't kinfolk. Frequency of Event Promotion says connecting with your purpose is a truly wonderful experience. Creactivator says I'm from Alberta. Square dancing is traumatizing.
Yo,
it's crazy. Scarborough's kids, man. It's
they don't know, eh?
Yeah, they don't know.
You're from Alberta. You're from Alberta. It almost seems like you have a connection to that cowboy culture. We were urban kids living in Scarborough, just square dancing it away. But go on. Yeah, go ahead.
Matt Duffy says, I don't think anyone wants to do square dancing. No, I don't think so. Yeah. But just before we go any further, if you want to get in touch with our men, there's email address, impactcommunities@hotmail.com. Facebook, they're at impact, the letter N, communities, and X/Twitter, Impact Youth. Phone number 416-560-5857. Brother Kofi, your turn.
Man, you know, we covered so many pieces, and like ancient practices restored, you spoke about some of the aspects in terms of your own journey spiritually, and it sounds like that has been a huge part of the role that you play in the work that you do in community. What do you, I guess, feel in terms of what your journey has meant in terms of how it's influenced your writing, influenced your creativity, influenced like how you show up in the youth work that you do, in terms of comedic spirituality and ancestral ways. How have you been able to like translate that stuff? How does it show up in your work and the creative side as well as the work with the young people?
From a spiritual perspective, when you look at like the Neter and the tree of life, and you look at these things, and you look at every aspect of life is situated in a different sphere, different Neter you can see. So when you go through things and you can see, okay, this is a Heru thing, you know what I'm saying? This is a Aset thing, right? So this, I'm just giving you real, like, so I'm not, I normally I wouldn't tell people, but this is what I'm going through. This is my thinking all the time when I go through it. I'm like, this is how I learned the ancestors, and the Neter. So for those who don't know, Neter is the breakdown of God, saying that God it comes in the different places. It's just like if God's a big corporation, right? If you have to deal with the finance, you don't talk to the tech support, you talk to the finance. So you have to know where to go, you know what I'm saying? What department to go to. So for me, spiritually, if I know, okay, this is a militant thing that we're trying to do. We're trying to put some heart. It's a Herikuti. It's a in the Ifatrish is Ogun. So you see the different Neter go through in life, in every situation. I see, okay, this is how it's playing out. So it helps me to understand spiritually how God's manifesting through. You understand? And it also helps me to understand a little bit more about reality. This thing called reality. So when we deal with this life here, reality is we identify through our five senses. How are you navigating this, right? And now, I mean, this is a huge thing to discuss. But like you asked me, like how I go through, like I look at it deep. But just to simplify it, I'll give you a few things. I look at big picture, little picture, right? So the big picture, okay, how is this gonna affect my goals? How is this gonna affect the overall situation? But then the situation itself, it could be like little picture, like you're mad about something or you're angry. So how do you navigate that? And then sometimes you have to remember the big picture to kind of be the compass to direct you out of the situation.
Right.
So those two things I use. Also, like I said, like understand a reality from a place of everything is happening to further our growth, to further ourselves, to further who our identities and who we are, right? So everything is happening for us to grow in that situation. We're always being tested. So life is a test and every day is a lesson. Maybe that's why you must listen and listen. You see it? It's one and the same from a poet, like from etymology, I look at it. It's like, okay, it's you're listening and you're learning the lesson. You know what I'm saying? So and then from that you're taking that and moving forward. When you look at Sankofa, this bird that's moving in progression presently, but it lands and looks back always because it's taking the last moment, bringing it and restoring it in the present time to move forward. You see what I'm saying? So these are all spiritual lessons that's happening regularly throughout. You know what I mean? But then in that moment, and that's all we have is this moment right now. Like, how are you showing up? Okay. Everything I just said, all in 1 second.
Nice.
Everything just boiling down to this moment. You know what I'm saying? And like, when I get too caught up with all these big ideas and all this, I just remember, all I have is this breath. All I have is this moment. And everything I just said, and everything that all these thousands of years, and all of us, every moment the ancestors brought and gave for me to be here, all boils down to this moment, this one breath. That's how I show up in the moment. You see what I'm saying? And as simple as that is, it's large as what I just said. But it's as simple as breath. You know what I'm saying? And then just remember where I am.
Powerful. It sounds like, because a lot of what you just shared there also ties into mindfulness practices, right? From the ancients, and whether it's coming through now through
That's
yoga.
That's what they call it now, mindfulness.
Whether it's
call it
it's coming through some of these what's now actually almost become mainstream, but recognizing that all of that still translates to what you just the ancient becoming the modern day. You said something about things are happening for us. And it's a powerful statement because some people identify with that things are happening to them, right, as opposed to for them, and that piece within itself is a spiritual principle.
Yeah.
Right.
Nothing is against you. Yeah.
So
right, which is again, so it's okay. So I think I'm getting some feedback in terms of
yeah. I was saying some
on my
slow
end. You
feedback.
guys can
Sorry
hear
about
that.
Yeah. I want to ask, what keeps you motivated during difficult times?
That's that's not a easy thing, because people, you get a lot of times people will talk spirituality and things like that. I'm like, okay, I'm so strong with this and I'm always good. That's not, and that's, if you were like that, then you don't need to be on this plane. You know what I'm saying? You'd be, you're not able to connect with nobody, because everything's going up and down. It's cyclical, right? Life is moving like that. So you're gonna go down. You're gonna feel down, and I wouldn't want it any other way, because we're divine beings having a human experience. So let me have my human experience. I gotta feel down. I gotta go through emotions. I gotta feel that, because that helps me identify with other people who are going through it. If I didn't, so how I try to stay up is like, I try to find ways to refuel myself. Like, it could be talking to a friend. It could be words of inspiration. It could be like taking a walk. It could be different mindfulness practices. It could be doing some qigong. It could be doing some yoga. It could be doing exercises, meditation, breathing. Well, I think the greatest joy for me is just playing music. Just playing music, and it could be either you playing music, like listening to music, but for me, it's I play instruments too, so it's like I enjoy playing musical instruments and things like that, and just jamming. You know what I mean? Just vibes and all. It's musical therapy.
Here's a fun question. Talking about musical therapy: hip hop or reggae? What's your preference?
Oh,
we gotta go there, bro. Listen, we got all types of listeners on this conversation, so we want to hear hip hop or reggae.
Listen, man, that's a tough one. But reggae speaks to my soul more. So, and reggae is something I could always listen, like, no matter where I can listen to it more times than hip hop. Right? But yeah, so I'm gonna go with reggae. But hip hop's right there too, and I'm saying like conscious hip, like the real hip hop. You know what I mean? Real hip hop.
All right. So I understand you got a big event going on Tuesday. Why don't you let us know a little bit about the event?
Yeah. So like I think I was mentioning earlier, we've been doing impact communities for about 14 years, and I've always been trying to launch this social enterprise called Impact Holistics, which is connected to impact communities, which is really just bringing that alternative wellness into that sector, into the community space, and giving alternative wellness opportunities to folks who wouldn't get that normally. So our community, we work with high risk communities. We work in Scarborough. We work in those types of neighborhoods. Those individuals need these alternative wellness strategies, different ways of coping, right? And they're not getting that because they might not have the resources, the insurance. They don't have the opportunities like that. I'm gonna say like the Lululemon crowd world that we normally get. You see what I'm saying? So like they don't have those opportunities. So for us, it's about giving those folks these types of opportunities where they can access reflexology, somatic healing, qigong, Reiki, sound healing, sound baths, art therapy, music therapy, right? Meditation, visualization, just for spiritual reasoning, just like these kind of conversations where they can hold space for that. Lectures, things like that, where these types of things can exist in a space where you can have that kind of high level of positivity, positive energy, and upliftment of frequency and activation. So that's what Impact Holistics is all about. We're launching the space on Thursday, and on Tuesday, this Tuesday coming up, May 27th, from 3 to 8 p.m. There's going to be different. Everything I just said, there'll be different activations happening where you can go and have breakout rooms where you can go in and experience these different things for free. It's all for free. There'll be some amazing vegan food there. And we'll have some drumming too, because drumming is a huge part of that as well. Some entertainment, so some good vibes. You know, we'll be painting a community mural as well, from a art therapy perspective. So, you know, a lot of times, like for instance, like an event like that, if you see what's happening, like you're getting all those things, you're paying over $100 for. This is free. You come in and getting all those things for free. And that's how we try to deliver it for going forward. Like it's free to the community, you know. And that's what that initiative is about. The space itself, calling the Joy Healing Center, because it's the opening of a space that's being named in honor of my wife who passed away a few years ago, and she was big into alternative health as well. So just creating a center where alternative wellness can be practiced. You know, her name was Joy, so I called it a Joy Healing Center. You know, and it's all about restoring joy at the end of the day. So, you know, that's yeah. So that's what, you know, the that's what the initiative is about. But once that opens up, like weekly, there'll be you can come into the space and see a practitioner.
Right.
You'll be able to access workshops. Right. So. There's a unique way that we're doing. There's a unique model that we're utilizing to make this happen, and it's actually a very win-win type of situation. And there's actually a wealth generation connection that's connected to this as well. But I will get into that later on. I'm not gonna discuss that, but it's gonna be huge and amazing. So you know, it's all about building community at the end of the day and well-being. So. You know, this is one piece of it.
Well, first and foremost, condolences on the passing or transitioning of your wife, and honor to you, brother, to honor her with such a great event and great continuous initiative. Yeah, we have a question here from Matt. Matt is asking, related to Dr. Vibe's question, what advice would you give to someone who might be struggling to find their voice in a world where it seems the loudest ones only want to keep them quiet?
Struggling to find their voice in a world where it seems the loudest voices.
Okay, if you are producer, can you put up the question again? Yeah. So what advice would you give to someone who might be struggling to find their voice in a world where it seems the loudest ones only want to keep them quiet?
Okay. So that's a very good one, man. What happens, I'm very soft-spoken, man, but you get people who are the loudest in the room and everyone listens to these clowns. That's you just got a loud voice, man. You ain't saying nothing. You know what I'm saying? So you get people that always are speaking, and because they're amplified whether now. And when I say, I'm gonna use the metaphor now, okay, maybe they have 1,000 followers, maybe they have this, maybe they are the loudest in the room, maybe they're always taking. But let me go back to the room. So someone comes in the room and they're just speaking the loudest. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
What can you do?
Yeah.
People are trying to listen to this person, right?
Sorry. Corrective. Oh, go ahead. Sorry about that.
Yeah. What do you do? Like, and this happens all the time, and this is how ignorance happens, because people follow the loudest voice, but they're more times the most ignorant, right? I do this, man, and I do this in team meetings all the time. I'm like, silence, man. Let's just have silence for a little bit. Let's have no talking. Respect silence, because some people are always talking. I'm like, when there's silence, new ideas come, new regeneration of thoughts and vibes come. But when someone's just always dominating because they hear silence, it's like, oh, the silence, that's an opportunity for them to speak. Like, you have to navigate and you have to recognize this. So the reason what I'm saying is, like, there's no cookie cutter solution. All it is recognition of what's happening. You see, because when you recognize it, you can navigate it better. You can say, okay, this person loves to talk. Okay, this person's the loudest. Okay, now you can create strategies of how you're gonna work around that person. You see what I'm saying? It's not always. It's just understanding what they're gonna do and why they're doing it. And like, that's how I navigated it. Just really understanding who that person is. It's just reading them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
The
And then-
creative reader says sorry for your loss. So he's saying,
thanks.
Brother Paul.
For sure. So I know we've been high with the spirituality, and I want to ground some of the conversation for folks who are not familiar with impact communities. Let us know some of the work that you guys are doing on a kind of day-to-day basis.
So we run programs for youth, children, and adults. We have a lot of violence disruption programs. We have 2 violence disruption programs actually. One is called the Violence Intervention Advocacy or Ambassadors Program VIA, and the other one is called Towards Peace. And they're both violence disruption based, where one is case management, one is doing more workshops and education, and one is more of a case management type program where we work with youth, high risk youth that are involved in various issues. I must say systemic issues because most of them come from systemically, and it's passed down, right? But we work with youth from our violence disruption programs. We have a youth drop-in, right, that we work with. The youth drop-in is on Fridays in East Scarborough and Kingston Galloway. That's been going on for 13 years now, right? And the only time we shut down was during COVID time because we work with Toronto Community Housing, and so we had to kind of shut down. But we reopened last May, and we've been good since. So it's been a blessing to be able to run those programs. We have a parenting program because we realize that parents need the supports that to help with the young people. We also have a food bank program. I'm gonna tell you about that. Let me just take this because I hear this sound is me.
Yeah, very much so. There you go.
Yeah, we got this. You're in the basement. I'm right next to the furnace.
Hey.
That's what that noise is, man.
It's not summertime yet. Don't be shutting off that heat, man.
One sec.
There you go. You went to go turn that heat back. For those who don't know,
My furnace came on 1 or 2 times over the last few days. At nighttime, it was.
Yeah, I had to turn it back on, man, because it was the last few. They say it's the coldest May on record. You know what I mean?
This is it.
Yeah, that's another story. But usually I do 6 months. That's a good rule too. 6 months off. So from May to usually I try to go to end of October without turning that furnace back on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you were talking about the food bank and the program.
Yeah. So the food bank, basically, we have a food bank that serves 150 families weekly. So every Thursday, we send out food to these families. They can either come pick it up. We also have a delivery service where we deliver the food to families in Scarborough communities. It's a volunteer drivers service that we have. The food bank is an amazing initiative. We've been doing that since 2014. It's been needed. We've seen more and more need, especially the last few years, and our food bags are pretty, I think comparatively speaking to some of the food banks, we have one of the best bags, or boxes, I should say, of food. It's well-rounded. We have a lot of produce, a lot of non-perishables, but a lot of vegetables, a lot of healthy stuff, a lot of organic things we get, a lot of vegan stuff, a lot of plant-based things we get, you know what I mean? So it's really healthy. I know the prices of stuff, it's worth a lot. And you know what I mean? If anybody's in need of food, they can come to our food bank and we'll try and help you as much as possible. We also have a volunteer bridging program where we help people to get back into that mindset of wanting to work. We take them and they come through our volunteer program. They can volunteer in our organization. We do mentorship with them. We help them with school. We help them get back on track. We help them with their career goals, etc. Whatever they need. We have a lot of wraparound supports. Our organization works very holistically in that manner. We also run entrepreneurship programs. So for you, we have a program called Passion and Purpose, which looks at helping to start up businesses, incubate business, and accelerate businesses. So Right now, we're more of an incubator, but we've been an accelerator where we've invested in businesses, thousands of dollars in each business, trying to get them started up and helping to get to that next level. But we also help start businesses and social enterprises. One of our specialties is really looking at how the business can work in better community. So I consider ourselves to be experts almost in that area because we've been doing it since 2014, that particular program. So those are some of the programs that we offer, and also we have a podcast that we're starting up too called Real Talks and Reasoning. Not like Dr. Vibe, but we're trying to get to that point where
there's room for everybody. Don't go there.
Yeah, but we have this podcast, that we're trying to do. But our podcast is a little different how we're trying to do it. It's more about the podcast is more showcasing our programs. So like for instance, when we do workshops and things like that, we actually put it into a podcast format. So it's more like that. It's not a really it's for anyone from the public can watch it, but we don't really put it out to say, okay, it has to be just for the public. It's for us so that we can use it as an education tool when we do our workshops and things like that.
So can you give us the address of the space again? In terms
so
of
it's 2857 Lawrence Avenue East.
Okay.
2857 Lawrence Avenue East, and that's at Brimley and Lawrence. It's on the second floor. Right? One second.
Yeah.
Brother Kofi, you are back. Do you have a final conversation piece you want to bring up?
Man, I mentioned like earlier, so many pieces we've explored, right? From some of the internal pieces that drive you, right? Some of the things that motivate you. You spoke about this piece around passion to purpose with young people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm definitely seeing how all the depth of your experiences have led you and grounded you, right? Throughout everything from the transition, of your partner to how you navigate aspects of, the business and creativity, impact holistics. You spoke about how we move through certain experiences and finding your tribe. So what I want to put out and I guess say is that for those that are in the journey of deciding on, if they're moving or if they're going to have the courage to move in their purpose and explore aspects of creativity and things of their whatever vocation that they choose, what are some of the things that you would say to kind of impart to them on that journey? And you spoke about even the rawness earlier, right? And being able to be honest with our own selves in terms of our own development. What are some of the things that you would impart to those folks that want to make those moves, start to move more in their purpose, following their passion, and breaking through whatever you spoke about the mental piece, right? Whatever the mental roadblocks are, what would you say to those folks?
So, that challenge is something that's is unique to every individual. You have to really look at, first of all, I would say you need a compass. You need to understand the hierarchy of where you're trying to go. And I just gave you a good one, which is well-being, right? Understand the well-being, wellness, your health, spirit, your soul, your mind, and your living arrangements, like your finances, your health, your physical health, your everything, your relationships, your connections. You know what I'm saying? You need to examine everything. The quest is not easy because once you open that door, it's hard to go back. And you shouldn't be going back. You know what I mean? But once you open that door, it's like that the whole red pill, blue pill thing. You take the red pill, and you're just moving down that path, right? And it's not easy. Once you start walking, it's not easy. But the more you do it, the easier it gets. So it's about staying consistent. Just like any other habit, it's like working out. If you're gonna work out, physically go work out, you gotta do it regularly. You gotta work out at least 3-4 times a week minimum. You know what I'm saying? To get a good a feel for the exercise to get back on that health path, right? So if you're gonna be doing these things, you have to change your habitual cycle of how you do stuff. It's about changing your habits, right? And habits also include like your reactions to certain things. There's a certain habitual reaction. Like, For instance, something happens, you get angry, it becomes habitual anger. You know what I mean? So you need to recognize, wait a minute, this anger is something I always get. So let me work on my anger. Let me work on my fear. Every time something this happens, I get scared, or my anxiety acts up, or my depression acts up. You see what I'm saying? Or so I would say, start tracking and get a journal. Best way, writing, words, sound, and power. Write it out. You don't have to do poetry, but you need to acknowledge those things. Write out what's happening. Write out your feelings. Write out the thoughts, and pay special attention to how you're feeling. Because for me, sometimes people will identify time periods by events, and that's typically what they do. But when I identify time period, like if you talk about when my wife passed, I'll tell you feeling for the last 4, like how I was feeling at this time, how I was feeling at that time, and we don't normally do that. You will just tell you the events. Oh, this happened. These are the situation, and we just describe it through events. I'm like, no, this is how I was feeling, and then I felt this way, then I felt that, and then changed it. You see what I'm saying? Because the feeling is how I attached everything to it, and it's just as strong as the memory, because the memory you see it, so you think, oh, it's about, the feeling is living in you, it's in your body. You see what I'm saying? It's affected you. It's like if you went, if you got in a car accident, and then all of a sudden you hear a loud bang, you jump. It's like, wait a minute, why? Like I thought I was good, but your body, your physiological reaction automatically like reacts to that because the feeling, you know what I'm saying? And I'll show you how strong the feelings are. Like, let's say you see this in addictions all the time. Smoking cigarettes is terrible for you. Nobody on the planet would think that it's good for them. There's no way. It's all the education is all there, so all the knowledge is there, right? All the information is there, but you still smoke. Why is that? It's the habit, right? And that's the feeling, because the feeling turned into a habit, and now you gotta address the feeling, and that's how you break your conditionings, and that's the unseen thing. So whenever you're doing this work, you always gotta remember seen, unseen. It's always a duality. Like I said, big picture, little picture. You got to deal with the feminine and the masculine. You got to deal with the duality. There's always a duality to the thing. It's always a positive and negative, the give and take. You see what I'm saying? So whenever you're looking at the situation, to identify it from two places, positive, negative, and the negative is not a bad thing. The negative just takes away. It's subtraction. You know what I'm saying? It's just when we look at too much negative, it devalues something, and we get the devalue of it. So we get evil or devil, because it's the level. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you devalue it so much that you think it's bad, right? And it becomes like maleficent. That's the word. What was that movie with it? Yeah, Maleficent. So it becomes like that. You understand? Because
balance is needed. Balance is needed. You're saying.
Yeah. Well, you gotta have the level. You know what I mean? And like that's what it is. And I know I'm using etymology with it, but like really, that's where you get the word from, because it's the devaluing of it. So you get this thing where you're devaluing so much. You gotta have give and take. I have folks that come and they want to volunteer with us, and they say, what is it you want to do here? They just want to give back. So I asked them, I go, well, what do you want to take? I said, nothing. I just want to give back. I'm just here to give. I don't want to take nothing. I'm like, no. What do you want to take? They said, no, I just want to give. I'm like, it doesn't work like that. You have to take. You have to take, because the nature doesn't work like that. It's give and take. So I'm going to request for what you take. I want you to take growth. I want you to take opportunity here to grow. You understand? So the quest that you're going to be working on here, you're going to have plenty of opportunities for you to be challenged with your anger, for your stress management, the different things. So you have to grow in the time that you're here. That's the take. That's what you're going to take back. You see what I'm saying? And you're going to work on yourself, and you're going to change. That's the give. So now you're giving me something. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm seeing that transformation. That's going to fuel me, and that's going to fuel the people around you, because you're going to inspire them. And that's how we break it down. You know what I'm saying? Always give and take. As I breathe in, I have to breathe out. I take in air, I send out air for the trees and things like that. You know what I'm saying? So
divine balance. So a couple things. I'm taking from what you said is the compass first, is what you started out with, acknowledging the importance of where you are in terms of clarifying where you want to be. You spoke about being consistent, people being consistent with whether they're the positive habits that can draw them in the direction that they want to go in. Checking your reactions, looking at how our emotions, can affect certain things, but also acknowledging when it comes to passion, where are you passionate? So I connect with that piece in terms of what you said. You spoke about journaling and actually documenting, parts of the journey and these kind of things. And of course, it's also an introspective activity. So many pieces there, and acknowledging that how we remember experiences in our lives and the manner in which we can do so, but it can also anchor us when we determine like what was the feeling during that time. And for men, often we don't talk about those things, right? We often talk about what we're thinking as what we're feeling. So I think that's the key piece to be able to look at. And now I'm thinking back upon experiences from my past and looking at like what season of life was I in at that time emotionally, what was happening. And I just, came from, having a reasoning with my dad, and we were talking about a close friend of his. And he said, I'd never heard him say about, interactions with this friend and stuff. And he said that, this particular friend of his disappears at times, right? And he said that the friend said to him, well, it's because I was depressed, right? It's because I was depressed. And it like was a blaring, sign for me, because I was like, how often have I heard older Caribbean men say, I had to do this, or I was going through this, and I was depressed.
You don't
It's
hear
like
that.
we haven't even given ourselves the privilege of being able to accept that, this is what's happening for me right now, and calling it what it is, and being honest with ourselves and with others in regards to that, right? I don't even think that's been something we've communally being able to embrace, and we're still in the process of that. So those are some of the takeaways I'm kind of shedding light on, and from what you shared. I'm just looking forward to, again, this week, the event, the space, the launch of the space, the work that's being done, so that the next generation of young people can have that voice that our guests spoke about, finding their voice and being able to share what's happening in their lives and their experiences, and being surrounded by adults that can support them throughout that feeling. So I'm definitely looking forward to Impact Holistics this week's event. Definitely follow. You're going to get the information later in regards to how you can participate, and there it is on the screen, how you can connect, follow them on social media, get involved, and continue to pass the baton on in the space of healing work, and especially its impact on the next generation.
Definitely.
Any final words you want to close out with, Soul-R, before we let you go?
Just I think it's a blessing to see what is happening here in this space right now. I appreciate all of you. Kofi, I know you're gonna be at the event. Kofi's actually gonna be doing some qigong as well. Paul's gonna be up in the space. He's gonna be working with the podcast and on just connecting and building and being a leader, overall leader. That's what he does, and just a Dr. Vibe. I hope you can come true too, and just relax, just get just hold the space, man, hold the vibe, and just enjoy, and receive some of that healing. So I just want to say thank you for the interview, and also, to people listening, and anyone that's listening afterwards, just work on yourself. It's frequency at the end of the day. I spoke yesterday at a march, and I just talked to them about and moving with your frequency, because when we're trying to do community change, you got to realize that there's an agenda out here to keep us suppressed. That's not in line with us, and we're playing by their game. We're playing when you're using money and you're trying to, all that's great, but like you're that's their game. The thing that we have power, and our own power, is our frequency, our vibration. It's our spiritual power. our psychic energy, our power, and this is the true power. This is why we have to manifest this. Because when you start working on yourself, you can manifest the things. You can bring things to fruition that you want. You can set goals in your life that optimize success. And everybody's success is different. You know what I mean? That's the other thing when you gotta understand what success is. Success is fulfillment of purpose. So I'll say that again. Your success is your fulfillment of purpose. So whatever your purpose is, you succeeding in that is your ultimate success, and that's what's going to give you power. You know what I'm saying? Once you have that, your light starts to shine. And the thing is that you do that, others see it, and it inspires. It's very simple, but it's true. You do those things, and it inspires everyone else. You understand? And you become that beacon of light, and light sheds, and that's how we build community, one person at a time. Starts from within, always two. Within, without. Big picture, little picture. So we start within, and it spreads to without, and others see it, and it goes within and without, and so it is, and so forth. So keep that up, and just keep that frequency moving. This conversation is huge because we said word pound, we word sound and power, and we sent that out. It's healing. It's doing its work right now. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you for that, brother.
All right, my brother. As always, don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace, and we'll be in touch. Thank you so much for some quality time. All right, take care.
Blessings.
All right, gentlemen. We have another comment here. The Creativator says, as an older West Indian man, my dad went from therapy back in the 90s after my parents' divorce, and it really changed him, and it was a great example for me.
That's
nice.
Big. That's big.
That is a big message. Love it. Okay, gentlemen, any final comments before we call it a day, or is that a wrap?
No, definitely a great conversation. Thank you, brother Soul-R, for coming through. A lot of wisdom, and a lot of knowledge. And I just want to, again, I'm so happy to see people in the community that are really giving back on that level. And really, for folks, if they can make it on Tuesday, please come through. I also want to share about an event. We do have a Father's Day event coming up on Friday, June 13th, Taylor Creek Park from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Whether you're a biological father or a community father, please come through. It's going to be, food, games, reasoning, drumming, and most important, it's going to be about fathers connecting. So please, for those who are interested, Dr. Vibe will put in my contact, and just look out further for it. We'll be talking about it for the next couple of weeks. But yeah, come through.
All right. Any last words, Kofi Morris?
Oh man, the first part of what I shared in the beginning of the session, I was talking about how us not being aware of the work that's being done in community. So for those that are not aware, this is the second food bank I'm aware of that runs every Thursday. There's one in Durham region. We have an organization called DCAG, and now this Impact Holistics impacting community in Scarborough on Thursdays. So there's a lot of amazing things being done in community on behalf of young people and families. So I would say continue to tap in, find ways you can get involved. Whatever, a lot of people say, I want to be part of the change, I want to be part of the solution. So be active, right? Every Tuesday, we host a Momentum Masterclass for individuals that want to change from the inside out, whether you're an entrepreneur, consultant, want to create change in your own life and the life of people around you in your business. That's something you could tap into, definitely. If you can follow me, information will be shared below. And just looking forward to continue to create this space for Black men to connect and to share and to hold a safe space for us, because it's needed and necessary. So give thanks once again, my co-host, Brother Kofi Sadat, Dr. Vibe, for continuing to create the vibe, building and creating the space. We continue on the journey and embracing our purpose through the work that we're doing. So I'm humbled. I'm thankful. Have a blessed, powerful, peaceful rest of the weekend, everybody. And looking forward to our next and best.
All right. To get a hold of them, Kofi Sadat, You can. There's email address, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Also, Naza community on YouTube. Kofi Morris email address is there. Also Instagram. He has 2 Instagram handles, by the way, and also on Facebook. Myself, you have me on my website, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, X/X, Twitter, and email address. And you can catch replays of this epic. Also I'm on Substack. Sorry. Also can catch me on Substack and on Blue Sky. All right. And you can watch replays of this conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, the Dr. Vibe Show website, and Paul Osbourne on Facebook and also on YouTube. As always, we close it off like this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller. Block assumptions. Aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Just don't manage your time. Manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace. And if you're not making money, make history, but try to do both and then make it better. God bless. Peace throughout. Keep the faith and walk good.
All right. Bless.
Peace.
Time with our parents, they're like, I have nothing to teach you. I don't know nothing. And they know
my dad's at that point now. It says,
that's my point.
But I'm saying, no, Dad, you got lots more to give. You know how cold it is when these 2 brothers in their yard.
You know that. You know that. You don't know that, bro. You know
No
that.
joke.
I know we all have these things, but you know what? My go-to is this thing.
Wow.
Black book. It's in the
Black book.
Men Talk, Black Book.